Welcome to the Fortunate Events Podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Bennett, and this podcast explores how our education, careers, and life experiences intersect in unexpected ways. We also talk about the obstacles that turn into opportunities, or fortunate events, you might say. This podcast is the capstone to graduate with my master's degree in digital media studies at the University of Houston, Clear Lake. As part of it, we are experimenting in real time with how to monetize a podcast. I'm so grateful for the amazing sponsors who've already signed on. There are still sponsorship opportunities available, and I'll be closing those out in September this month. So if you listening would like to sponsor, or if you know someone who would, please reach out. Before we dive in, I want to thank the sponsors who helped make the show possible. Our headline sponsor, Infante Marketing Solutions, is where I serve as Vice President of Marketing alongside founder Carrie Infante. Together, we partner with builders, nonprofits, medical practices, and community organizations to elevate their brands through strategy, social media, events, website, PR, and more. Supporting this podcast is an extension of that same mission, using communication to connect, inspire, and grow. I also want to thank a supporter of the show, my mom. Mom, if you're watching, I'm sure you are. Your encouragement means everything, and I'm so grateful to have your support behind this podcast in such a special way. Now, on to today's conversation. My guest, Nate Manthey, he is someone whose journey truly defies categories. He began his career as an ordained pastor, walking alongside children, youth, and marriages in times of growth and challenge. He later trained as a registered nurse, providing care in moments when people needed it most. From there, Nate stepped into entrepreneurship, building residential assisted living homes and guiding other businesses and owners through their ventures. Today, he's an author, a graduate student as well in marriage and family therapy, and an active part of ministry at City Mark Church in Leak City, which is also my home church. What ties all these chapters together is Nate's conviction that the best opportunities aren't found by following someone else's script. They come when you step out in faith, trust God, and create the path that you were uniquely made to walk. Nate's story is a reminder that when you feel like you don't quite fit the mold, it may be because you're shaped for something different. And that's where I want to start today. Nate, do you want to say hello?
Yes. Hey, hello. Thanks so much for having me.
Happy to have you. Now that we got that out of the way. We'll start with the first segment. Nate, you've said you sometimes feel like a fish asked to climb a tree. What did that mean for you growing up?
Yeah, what a good question. So I felt like in grade school, elementary, junior high, high school, they teach a certain educational model. And I just felt like, if I'm in a room full of monkeys, I wasn't learning how to climb the tree like they wanted to. And I felt like maybe I was a fish and I was maybe to swim instead of climb a tree. And I think once I started realizing I was different, it created a unique path for me, and there was some tension for me. So I felt like they were asking me to climb a tree when I was made to swim. And I was learning that being different, it wasn't broken, but it was God preparing me for a unique path.
Oh, it's very impactful. Do you think feeling different pushed you toward your unique path, or did it take time before you could see that as something good?
Yeah, it took time. I feel like it was a burden when I was younger because I didn't know, right? And I felt like I was wrestling with it. And it wasn't until about 19 that I started celebrating it that it kind of clicked. And so looking back, I think that God used that tension kind of to pull me off of this scripted path or what people wanted for me. My parents wanted something for me. My grandparents wanted something from me, but the educators, the teachers, the counselors, they all wanted something from me. But I really had to kind of figure out what was God's calling for my life. And so I think over time I learned, I'm a copious reader. I love reading now. And so I have found that there's other people I've never met in my life, but they're mentors. And so like a guy named Gino Wickman, he wrote Rocket Fuel. So he talks about being an integrator, and he talks about being a visionary. And I feel like I'm more leaning towards a visionary. Patrick Lee Choney, he talks about the 6 working geniuses, and I feel like I'm a discerning galvanizer. So I'm learning more and more about myself, that this uniqueness creates places and positions for me that this is what I was created to do.
Tell me, I'm going off script a little bit, but
Yeah.
tell me a little bit more. What do you mean when you say that you see yourself as like a visionary? Just tell me more as like someone who might not know about that.
Yeah, so I feel like I'm in positions where I have to drive vision a lot. There's people that I think they want to just go and do things, and they're looking for somebody to help kind of drive momentum, drive passion. And I find myself in situations where people are looking to me for wisdom. And sometimes I don't have it, but I just step and I move forward, and I find that, you know, we get some wins under our belt, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is the next best thing. I was like, yeah, you're telling me, because I'm kind of figuring it out as you do it. So I'm learning that there's these natural bends that we're created for, and that if we can identify some of those opportunities in our lives.
That's beautiful. I love that. Well, we're going to move on to the next segment, ministry. I mentioned in the intro that you are an ordained pastor. How did you get into that?
Man, it was a surprise. God had bigger plans than I even knew. So a little background, when I was 19, I grew up on a farm in Minnesota. So I learned commitment, discipline, determination, all these things from that aspect. Education really wasn't a big push. My dad, he dropped out of school in 10th grade. Didn't go back, right? My mom actually went back to school in her 30s to be a nurse. So education was kind of always there, but it was never a driving force for me. And so ministry, I was 19, I ran away from home.
Oh, like the prodigal son.
You better believe it, and it took me a while to get back. But my parents always loved me, and I really didn't understand how much they did until, you know, you start learning that the more you learn, you actually are learning the more you don't know.
Yeah.
And it took me that long. But anyways, I ran away from home, and
did you actually like run? Like you cut ties with them and stuff?
Yes, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. There was a situation where
fallout.
my father and I, we just had. He's a very strong man. He would be considered an alpha male, and I would say that I was as well. So you have two alpha males inside of a situation. I'm trying to flex and get independence. He's trying to help me see, hey, that's not just how it is, right? And so, goodness, I have some great stories, but let's stay on topic. So it was senior year of high school. I ran away to my best friend's house, and I was there for the last several months of my high school career. Barely graduated high school in that moment. So I knew mom and dad's routine and schedule. I ended up going home, sneaking back into the house because I needed some clothes.
Oh my gosh.
And,
do they know that you did that?
Well, they do now.
Oh.
Our relationship has since been restored.
Yeah.
You know, that was,
praise the Lord.
Yeah, that was what, 25, 30 years ago.
Okay.
And so anyways, the phone rang, and this is the phone that's connected to the wall with a cord. And we were trained as young kids, if the phone rings, you pick it up and you answer it. I don't know why, but that day I snuck into the house. The whole house was empty to get some clothes. The phone rang, and I instantly, like muscle memory, went and grabbed the phone. And as I listened to it, it was my sister, and she was down in Texas, Mission McAllen, Texas, and she was a part of an internship. She's like, what are you doing home? I was like, I actually have no idea. I was getting some clothes. She goes, why'd you pick up the phone? I said, don't know. She goes, I know. It's because God wanted me to tell you that you need to come down here and join this internship. So with that...
Because she wasn't expecting anyone to be home.
100%. She was going to leave a message on the voice machine. And the director of that program got on the phone and said, oh, you're Nate. We've been praying for you. And we feel like you're supposed to come down here. And so, complete stranger speaking into my life.
Wow.
It was God, even though I was still trying to be stubborn and be independent. It was God kind of directing my steps. So that brought me into ministry. And so at that moment, I was an intern. I was just learning the ropes, and then got on staff there. And then kids, youth, marriage services, and became an ordained pastor. And so we were pastors. My wife and I were pastors for 11 years.
Wow. And what was the name of that church?
Palm Valley Church. It's still there
in
Mission, Texas.
Mission, Texas.
Yeah, Pastor Rick Gannon, a dear, dear friend of mine. I still listen to him online.
Where is Mission located?
So Mission is down in the valley of Texas. So
like by Victoria?
Yeah, even further south. Yeah, you're going to go down towards like Harlingen. It's a little more west of Harlingen.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think I've ever actually been to that part of Texas.
Great place down there.
Very cool. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
We talked about your ties to kids, youth, and marriages. What did you learn from walking with those groups of people, you know, their various ages of life during those years that you were in Mission, Texas?
Yeah, I learned that leadership wasn't just standing on the platform. I learned that leadership was about serving, listening, and showing up in people's hardest moments.
Yeah.
And that helped kind of shape the rest of my career choices and path.
Is there a story or moment from that time in ministry that still guides you today?
Yes. Yes. As I was thinking about that question, I spent 3 months in Africa
Oh my gosh.
as a 20-year-old young man. And
Wow.
I went with a missionary, and he helped start a Bible school underneath a big Balboa tree in Africa. And I just wanted to go to carry his bag so I could be a part of the experience. And God had a totally different experience. But during that time, I ended up getting bug bites all over my body.
Oh, do you know what they
looked
were?
like measles. When I came back to the States, I figured out what it was.
Okay.
But what was happening was I was defecating blood. And what you need to know about me
That
is
means-
something that happens with me is if I cut myself, I pass out.
Really?
It's just, it's
Like a shock factor
it's
thing?
a vasosyncope thing where I just pass out. So
Oh my
when
gosh.
every
Even a
time
little one?
Yes. So every time I would use the restroom, I would pass out because there was blood.
No.
I was losing blood. In Africa, they didn't have nice little polished bathrooms. It was a hole in a field.
Oh my
and I would
gosh. Sounds like a nightmare.
I would pass out. It was. And I would pass out next to the hole. But I would get back up, and then we kind of keep going. Well, there was a moment where we were having a service that night. It was about 2 weeks that I was dealing with this, and I was just praying to God, like, help me, heal me. I don't know what to do. We were in the bush of Africa. We were in Malawi, Africa, and so the closest city was about a 4-hour drive, on uneven roads and dirt roads that were washed out. And I remember just praying and sitting there that night, and I could hear the service. I was probably 25, 30 feet away. And I remember that there was a small little nudge that said, if you're going to trust me now. Walk to service and you'll be healed. Now, come on. Like, a normal sane person will probably be like, oh, you're just saying that.
But you heard him say this.
I don't know.
Or you felt it.
Yeah, I don't know an audible voice, but I felt a nudging. And so I remember putting my shirt on. I remember putting my shorts on. I remember walking to that service. And albeit, I get right to the threshold of that door. And I open that door, and it's like honey from the top of my head all the way down to my face, to my shoulders. It felt warmth all the way. And I dropped to my knees, and I started crying. And I felt like I was healed. And even the pastor came down. He goes, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be in bed. You're sick. And I was like, well, I felt like God said, come here and be healed. I was a 20-year-old. I don't know. Faith. And even now the pastor's like, I could tell he was a little upset. And then I was like, I just feel like God's going to heal me. God healed me. This is what he told me. He goes, we'll see. And I just remember thinking, oh my God.
You have a little faith.
Yeah. Or just like, did I miss it?
Yeah.
And the next morning and the rest of the trip, we had about a month and a half left of that trip. Never pooped blood again.
Oh my God.
I was healed. So in that moment, God always brings me back.
That is really crazy.
God always brings me back to that story and that doorpost. I have a picture of that threshold. It's an old, scrappy door. Yeah. And so that helped shape my life. And God allowed me to have that milestone in my life to look back and be like, because, if I start complaining, like, God, where are you? God? Where are you?
Where are you? Why can't I hear or see you?
That's right. He goes, listen, I was there, and I need you to remember that. So,
wow, that's so relatable for me, and I'm sure everyone or a lot of people listening. Yeah. So I have to know, what were the bugs?
Yeah, so actually they were mosquito bites. Right?
Really?
So
you're allergic?
I don't know, but so mosquitoes carry something called dysentery. And so I got bit by so many that I came down with dysentery. And so at the doctor, after I told her the story, she's like, wow, it sounded like dysentery.
Yeah. Is that deadly?
I think it could be if you don't have fluids and you don't get the medication that you needed. And
a lot of people probably don't have access to that.
Yeah, or clean water, right? So usually it comes from clean water. So maybe the mosquitoes, or we weren't bathing. Not like you do in America. You're not in the showers, right? The hot showers. You don't get that. You get a bucket of water.
Okay.
And you boil that water.
Like a bird bath.
Yeah, with a cup. And you just,
I don't know. I'm too prissy for that, I feel like.
Yeah, it's great. It's quite an experience. Every American should try it.
It's probably a good idea. Well, that is such an interesting story. Before we move on to nursing, is there anything else you want to talk about from your time in Africa?
No, it was great. It was good. I think God sets up memorials in our life to point us back to those times where he was faithful, because our life doesn't always get better. It goes up and down, up and down, up and down.
All the time. Well, thank you for sharing. And I know I'm laughing, but I think because you're a good storyteller.
Sure, it's great.
And it's probably better to laugh at hard times when you're on the other side of it than look back and cry, right?
Yes, 100%.
So let's shift gears and talk about how you got into nursing. After you were a minister, you switched to nursing, registered nurse. what made you step into healthcare?
Yeah, what a great story. So a unique experience. What I love the podcast name, Fortunate Events, it's God has a plan for everybody. So my path is probably unorthodox, but you know what? I'm really glad for it. And you just embrace it and you step into it. So nursing, here we go. I went in, I felt like God said, go to Haiti. So Haiti, it happened in 2010.
Wow.
In January 2010. A buddy calls me and says, hey, I feel like God's telling me to go. I was like, I don't know, but you know what? I kind of resonate with it. Let's go. So him and I, we went, and armed with a camera and a notepad, and we flew into the Dominican Republic, and then we took a bus into Haiti because Port-au-Prince was shut down. Anyway, so we're there about 7 weeks, and we were able to use Twitter back at that time and Facebook, and we were able to use our church contacts and our friends. I remember a single mom donated, because what we were doing was we built a campaign to help rebuild a school.
Okay.
And so all these people came out of the woodwork to help and fund that. And so we had a couple weeks left while we were in Haiti, and we were volunteering at a hospital. And I remember watching the medical staff, and I remember watching them break branches, because there was a lot of blunt trauma, a lot of broken bones. And they asked us to go break branches off of trees so they could use them as temporary splints until they could get more stuff in from the States. And I remember that the same nudge that told me to go to that threshold in Africa was the same nudge that said, when you get back to the States, you're going to medical school. So the goal was to be a doctor. So nursing was the branch. I could be a science teacher or a nurse, get the bachelor's, and then you go and apply to be a physician. So nursing got me closer to the bedside. I like people, and so I wanted to work with people. So nursing was that branch.
Okay.
But again, that's what I thought. Now looking where I'm at.
That's how you understood it, 100%. Right?
And now looking back, God had it ordained because of where I'm currently at. Yep.
So I do have to interject just a little bit, because I see that personal connection in my life. I, at 19, had my son Branson. Do you know that I have a 19-year-old myself?
No. Wow.
So I got pregnant at 18.
Wow.
I got pregnant with him. I had pressure from a lot of sides, from my parents telling me what to do, my twin sister telling me what to do, my best friend just giving me their thoughts on what I should do with this baby who wasn't expected. And I knew I was meant to raise him, and I wasn't going to birth him and give him away. I wasn't going to not have the baby. So I just felt very strongly that I needed to have the baby, even though I felt like everyone was almost against me in that decision. But that was a short-term thing. My family is so close to him now. It's such a blessing. My son's staying with my parents right now, which is a good thing. Yeah. So I had him, and then I knew I was still meant to go to school. I had a dream, and I had things I wanted to do, and had this vision of just continuing in my life, connecting with people. That's something that I've always done as well. So I thought I was going to become a teacher. Okay. I was accepted early to A&M University. I was, and this is again before I got pregnant, I was accepted early because I did really well in school. My sister was accepted early as well. We had reserved a suite, like conjoining rooms, where we would be suite mates. So we wouldn't be living together, but like right next to each other. And then that was all finalized in February. And so going into the summer, fully expected to go off to College Station in August. Wow. And then I got pregnant in July. I found out in July. So my parents, they're like, you cannot go to A&M. You have to stay back here. They just didn't want me to be on my own out there pregnant, even though I wasn't having him yet. Yeah. And I understand that now as a parent. Like, if my daughter had got pregnant, I would not want her to go off even a few hours away. Yeah. So I stayed here. I went to San Jacinto College, got my associates in childhood development.
Wow.
And then whenever I was switching over to get my bachelor's degree, I was transferring into UHCL, and some things had come up where education didn't look like the best route at that point. And so I was talking to my sister about, what do I do? Because I thought my whole life I was going to be a teacher. Yeah. And she's like, you should look into marketing. And she doesn't remember this. She literally doesn't remember telling me this. But she's like, you should look into marketing, because she knew I loved event planning and creative stuff and photography and even writing. So I was like, yeah, that sounds like actually a great avenue for me. So I transferred to Yale and pursued marketing, and I've loved it. I've really enjoyed it. And communication is the title of the degree. But marketing has been the field that I've been in for this long. So long story short, I thought that teaching dream was kind of dead. but I'll be teaching in the spring, it turns out, at UHCL.
Wow. Amazing.
My professor this summer asked me to become a teacher to teach social media once a week to undergrads, but I have to finish my master's.
Okay.
So like I said, I finished this podcast in December. I already have the offer to teach.
Awesome. Yay.
So it's really crazy, like how things come back around, and things that really started as a challenge and I thought were completely out of reach.
Yeah.
He has turned back into another opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, that fits with the podcast.
Yeah. So can I piggyback that real quick? So what I'm learning in my life is, everybody's like, there's no opportunities. It depends what you're focusing on.
Yeah, there's no work out there. I'm like, right. I have work.
That's right. If you focus on negative stuff, that's what you're going to see.
Yeah.
Right? We have something in our brains called the RAS, Reticulating Activation System. Oh. Right? So you're like, okay, you buy a new car. Mm-hmm. You want a yellow car because you love yellow cars, because nobody ever has a yellow car. So you buy this yellow car, and guess what? Now you start seeing yellow cars everywhere. All over the place, right? Because you've activated this that's what you're focusing on, right? Okay. So we have that. So it's whatever you focus on. And here's what I want to say about opportunities. God creates us for our opportunities. Mm-hmm. And it's not that there's these opportunities, but He creates you for those opportunities for when the time comes, His timing, and He'll make a way. And look, I mean, it's like...
So I've sort of had like a little bit of better understanding recently. I thought that there was like one path for me, and if I didn't follow it, I'm going to cry.
Sure.
I thought that there was like one path for me.
Come on.
And that if I didn't follow that path, I wouldn't be able to find Him.
Sure.
But I really have realized that He has multiple paths.
Yes.
And no matter which one I choose, He's going to be there.
Yes.
And that's something that I've had a hard time understanding, because I've gone through a lot of really dark seasons. I'm sorry to cry. That's really embarrassing.
I can tell you about a dark season I went through. And
only if you promise to cry.
Girl, no promises, but it probably will happen. How amazing.
Because He really, I understand Him better than I have before. And that can be scary too.
Yeah. And He loves you so much that He gives you the opportunity to make a decision, a choice, to decide.
Because I don't like to make decisions. Okay. Because I don't want to make the wrong one.
Sure.
But I've learned that I can make a choice, and even if it's not the best one, He's still going to use it for His good.
Come on. Yes. Yes. Look at where we're at today.
I know.
Look at the podcast. Such a blessing.
All right. I'm okay. It's just, it's just crazy how things work out.
That's fine. Because what do you want it to be real?
Yeah.
100%. And so that was a moment of vulnerability. And so you want your listeners, they're not perfect listening on the other end of this speaker.
Yeah.
And so I think you leaving that in there, because I think when you're true and honest with your feelings, especially your feelings, it helps. You're being vulnerable. And God wants us to be God wants us to be. I get so excited that I wheel back the chair and I start speaking with my hands. Yeah. I feel like God gets us to a point where there's dependence on Him. And when we get there, I think He's up there in heaven with all the cloud of witnesses going, there He is. Now we can use Him or use her. It's an amazing story. An amazing story.
Well, it really is beautiful that I thought it was never going to happen again. Because I really do feel like I still feel broken that the dream I had to go to A&M didn't happen.
Yeah.
But I know that I still have so many beautiful blessings. Like I met my best friend today by going back to UHCL.
Wow. Wow.
So I know that there were so many beautiful gifts in that time. It just still kind of hurts that I didn't actually get to achieve that dream.
Yeah, I love it. Sometimes God breaks us because those are the pieces we don't need. So when He puts us back together, He's like, I'll interject my part there. You need me a little more in this part of your life. I mean, we are our realest self when we just let it go. You just, parents of kids start quoting Frozen.
How can you not?
Yeah, good point.
I love that movie. Okay, let's see where I want to get back to now. Do you see a connection between ministry and nursing? Since
Yeah.
we're trying to get back on track.
Fair enough. I do see a connection between ministry and nursing. Both require compassion, patience, and seeing the person and not just the problem.
Yeah. That's beautiful, because I'm sure a lot of people who are in that mindset of their job and day to day, they do treat them like a patient number, whatever, XYZ. So it's beautiful to take a step back and really see the person and try to help them in that time of need too. Do you still do, I guess nursing is still involved like with your assisted living?
Yeah. So Tiff and I are both still licensed in Minnesota and Texas as nurses. And so we're still required licensing by the Board of Nursing. And so in the assisted living, since it's deemed non-medical, I do hire other nurses to be able to come and participate. But I still use the nursing knowledge. Yep, absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's one experience from nursing that challenged you the most?
I would say it would be any kind of patient or resident dealing with a problem that I just can't fix.
Yeah.
I'm a problem solver.
Me too.
People usually come to me to solve problems.
Yeah.
Even in marriage with my wife. And even though she doesn't want it solved, I have to learn to pause and go, okay, do you want me just to listen right now, or do you want me to solve it?
It's a good, I like that you ask her that question.
Well, after 23 years of learning that
That's so funny.
that I'm not right all the time.
Yes.
And so, in those moments, it humbles me, because it really, it brings me back to rely on God. And then in the nursing field, more specifically, to rely on God and not just the medicine, even though medicine has its place.
Because he can still make miracles
100%.
when it seems impossible.
That's
like
right.
the doctors are trying different things and
That's
nothing's working, and he's the one.
That's right. Yep.
Have you been following the Forrest Frank stuff?
His back?
Yes.
Yes.
That is wild. It's literally like a modern day miracle, right?
Amazing.
Would you say that?
Absolutely. It would be like some young boy over in Africa having dysentery.
Yeah.
You know what
like
I mean?
you.
Yes. So it's like God still performs miracles.
Yeah.
He says faith like a mustard seed. If you would have faith like a mustard seed. I
Yeah.
think sometimes though we lose it. We lose it because of all the information that's out there now. So much information. And so knowledge is not always good, because now you know so much that it doesn't take faith.
Trust me, I'm like, I don't want to know that. There's sometimes where I'm just
I
like,
think
don't
it's
tell
okay.
me. I don't need to know that.
Yes, because what is the definition of faith? Believing or hoping for things unseen. That's faith. And so that's the difference between this God person and believing, seeing, well, I'll only trust God if I believe it. Well, that dissolves the whole basis of what faith is.
It's so crazy though, because Jesus was here 2,000 years ago. Like, what's the number? Because like I said, I need to do better at reading my Bible.
Yeah, no.
I don't have a lot of things committed to memory.
So like the calendar was built on his birth. They say the calendar was built at 0, right?
Yeah.
So if we're at
2025, 2025.
You're looking at maybe that's kind of an average.
Yeah.
Of about how long since Jesus has been here.
Yeah. So, there's been talk, and even me that, have said, like, what about modern day miracles? Why can't we see you? Why can't we see what you're doing?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is he's doing things and we're just not aware.
Exactly. So if we want to circle back to the RAS,
Yes.
you talk about things that you're focusing on and looking every day. So I have 2 beautiful daughters. And every day, well, I want to look at them and be like, they're walking miracles. When I get up and I'm brushing my teeth, or I'm taking a shower and I'm able to self-care with myself, it's a miracle.
Yeah.
It's a miracle, because I'm taking care of some seniors now, grandmas and grandpas that just can't have that. They've lost the independence. So it depends what your definition of a miracle is.
Yeah.
There's everyday miracles. I want somebody listening to this that if you're in a slump, if you're listening to negative voices, I want you to look in the mirror, look at yourself, really look at yourself, and tell yourself, I'm beautiful, I'm handsome, I'm a walking miracle today, because you are. You are.
Yeah. I don't like to look in mirrors a lot.
Okay.
But I do know that even if I don't want to look, I can still tell myself those things.
Come
on. And I've started to look more. I am on a journey to lose weight, and it's finally coming off. It's starting to, like this big week. I don't even want to tell you how much I've lost in this because it's such a lot in a short time, but it's been so slow.
Yeah.
But I started 8 weeks ago, and I'm down like 12 pounds.
Congratulations.
Thank
yes.
you. And it feels so good because I
Yes.
felt like I would never be able to get rid of it. Like
Yeah.
it's been here for so long.
Love it.
But, I do also know that negative self-talk really can be detrimental.
It is.
And whether that's, things that you just think about yourself or things that people have told you and that won't come out of your head, because that's been part of my issue is I've been fed a lot of negative things,
Yeah.
and I'm coming out of that. Thank God. Like, thank God for, cleansing me of the negativity.
Yeah.
I still deal with it, but it's definitely not as bad as it was.
I love it. I love it. So a little help if you have a Bible, if you like getting into Bible, get to Philippians.
Philippians. I'm going to go flip to Philippians after this.
There it is. And there's a verse in there that I quote a lot.
Yeah.
And, or at least I recite to myself when I start thinking negative stuff it says, think on things that are true. Think on things that are pure. Think on things that are holy. Think on things that are righteous. Think on things that are good. And those things, it starts to shape you. And those are the things that help, you look at life different.
What's one moment that reminded you that you were right where you're supposed to be?
That's a good question. I think for me, there's just affirmations as I keep walking forward. The Bible talks about the word as a lamp unto my feet. A lamp, like a lantern. That means, like, have you ever walked with an old-timey oil lantern?
Well, I know what you're talking about, but I don't think I have.
You can't see that far. I wish that God gave us spotlights in life because I want to see what's down a mile. And so I think for my life, I really tried to take every moment, every challenge, every trial, and what would, that old bracelet, what would Jesus do? That occasionally pops into my brain, but it's like, what does God want me to learn through this situation? And so for me, I was a nursing assistant up in Minnesota. This was while I was going to school to be the physician. And so this was part of that process. And I remember the first person that died that was under my care. And it was late at night. I was working a night shift. And the son, this was his only father. So he was the only son. And he knew that time was getting close. And so he brought a mat and he would kneel on the mat and just hold his dad's hands and lay over his dad. And this particular night, we knew it was close because there's certain things that you can see as people are beginning to pass. He stopped eating, had a hard time swallowing, that kind of stuff. And so I remember I was making my rounds, and I just remember that night I just felt like I needed to spend more time in that room with them and talking and just kind of trying to remember stories and trying to help them kind of heal through this process. And I mean, we experienced his father taking his last breath. And I remember the clinical side of me, I was like, okay, I have a whole checklist of stuff I have to do. And in that moment, he grabbed my legs because I was standing and kind of leaning over.
Who grabbed your legs?
I'm sorry. Not the resident. The resident has passed.
Okay.
It was the son. Because I was standing over the body.
Yeah.
And, he was still on the floor, over his dad. And he grabbed my legs and bear hugged
Poor
him.
baby.
Yeah. And the son knew his father passed, yet somebody was there. I didn't even say anything.
That's so
And
sad.
I learned the power of presence. Like you don't have to say anything. And so to me, there's moments like that where I feel like it simply showed me that being present is a ministry.
Yeah.
You can just be present. I mean, if you go online right now, people have started businesses of hire a friend or just call to talk, right? Like some people,
They're trying to act like
yes,
God there.
Well, sure.
But maybe he's allowing that. Maybe he's allowing
agree.
them to be friends.
I agree. Okay, so ChatGPT.
I love ChatGPT.
Okay, so I don't know if it's a Harvard study, but a study just came out. The number one, per this podcast, the number one reason, or the number one
search engine.
Yes, and what are they using it for? The number one resource of what they're using ChatGPT for is a therapy and a friend.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So it just shows you there's this absence or this void of connection. We are humans. We need to connect. We are not bred or born to be isolated. And when you do, that's when things happen that are negative.
Yeah.
You need people.
Yeah. I've learned that myself. My son thinks differently and learns differently. And we struggled in school his whole life. And when he was 3 years old, one of his teachers told me, like, she could see that he was different in a beautiful way. And she told me, don't let anyone squash his shine. I guess she was trying to prepare me when he was about to start elementary. And that was at preschool, and she had him for a couple of years, I think, or had seen him. And I guess at that point, like, I knew it was going to be a difficult road, but I had no idea, like, all the things that we'd go through. So he's been diagnosed as ADHD, inattentive, and I'm sure he gets that from me, because after he was diagnosed, I've realized I'm very spacey.
Sure.
And I've done things that I've learned to get me back on track and, like, learn to be organized and focused. It's still a work in progress, but I'm learning, and I've learned a lot from him, because I thought we were so different, and because we experience it differently. Like, certain things that work for me don't work for him, or he's just not interested in, like, note taking.
Okay.
He had to take a note-taking class on it in middle school, and he hated it, and he failed it because he didn't want to turn the work in.
Sure.
That was his biggest struggle, is he didn't want to waste time doing things he thought weren't important.
Sure.
He's very logical, so smart. He's a certified genius. Truly, I had him tested because I was like, what do I do for this kid? He's so beautiful and so brilliant, and he's failing. Like, he kept failing, not until high school, but every year was a struggle up until then. But when he started failing, that's when I was like, okay, something has to give. I have to figure out how to help him, because, you know, his dad had dropped out of high school and ended up getting his GED, which is fine. Like, that's a route some people take.
That's right.
And I just didn't want that for him. And again, that's me, like, wanting certain things for my son, but I just felt like I knew he was meant for more. And so I had him tested. It was like this full evaluation where they're testing behavioral and academic abilities, and just like a full picture of this person, you know. And from there, they can tell you what's going to help that person learn the best way. So after we did all these rounds of tests and had a professional read the test for us and interpret it for us, they, again, just came to the conclusion that he had ADHD. They said it was ADHD undefined or unknown or something.
Sure.
But he gets distracted easily. So from there, I said, okay, well, you know, what's the best learning outcome for him? How can he succeed? Everything we've tried, online, in person, hybrid, it's not working. And this tester, or this person who's facilitating the test, he said, well, the ideal setting based on all this information is one-on-one.
Wow.
Which makes a lot of sense, because that's kind of like the old way of doing it. You know, you'd have a mentor, and you don't have all the distractions of 30 other people in the classroom. And when he was growing up, he was in private school, so he was in smaller settings, which did help, and that was intentional, you know, putting him in private school. But again, it wasn't enough. Like, he still was not doing his best. So when they told me, you know, he needs one-on-one, kind of popped in my mind as like a Montessori or something, because I went to Montessori as a child. I had searched for, you know, schools previously before testing him. Then with the test, I said, okay, what's the best route? They said one-on-one. I said, okay, where is that? Like, where do I find that kind of school? And they said, well, there's one that we know of in Houston inside of the Galleria, and they do one-on-one there. And it's called Fusion Academy. And I love the school. They're actually really awesome on social media. They've really ramped up their outreach. But the thing with the school is, you know, it's very expensive. I am still paying on it, and I'll be paying for a long time, but it's okay because it was worth it. And I truly felt that God led us to that school. And people didn't understand because I was paying a ridiculous amount of money, and my parents supported it, and so much debt tied to it. And I even had some people ask, why are you doing this? Just let him graduate, and, or, you know, let him drop out or graduate or whatever, and then go to college and start the next chapter. But I knew that he was learning things that he needed to learn, like in the progress of graduating. I just knew that this was the path for him. And it really, truly, like, turned his outlook on life around, and mine, because when we were going through this is why I started crying a while ago. I felt like I had failed him. I felt like I had failed him when he was failing high school over and over and over. I even, like, quit my job and took a new one that let me be home with him more so I could be there when he was there. And he still wasn't getting his work turned in because I couldn't turn it in for him.
Sure.
I'd go in there and be like, what are you doing? Are you working? And he'd say yes. He probably wasn't. But I felt like I had failed him at that time. And some mornings I didn't want to wake up. But all that to say, I'm thinking about this because this was just 2 years ago that I felt this way.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was literally 2 years ago I would wake up and I would just feel so much dread. And now my son's thriving, you know? And I really didn't know how I'd get through that dark season. But God pulled us through.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to try not to cry anymore on this episode.
No, that's great. That's great. I mean,
I don't know if people can hear through the tears though. Like if I'm crying, I feel like I'm not getting my message across.
Yeah. No, you are. I'm listening loud and clear. And I mean, I would think that your listeners are hearing the same thing I am. And I feel like I have to tell you, God knew the mama that your son needed.
I love that voice so much.
And
like, it's probably a little unhealthy.
You know what? You do. A mother's love. I was a mommy's boy. And I mean,
and the thing is, we're not even like super, super close right now. Like, I know he loves me. And
yeah, there's seasons. I mean, as he gets older, he'll realize the sacrifices. He'll realize the intentional decisions that you made to help him flourish in a world that was so confusing. And my relationship with my parents is so much better now. You know, after I fixed my brain. You know,
how did you do that?
God, and God got in there, and He was like, "Hey, I didn't create you to be that way. I mean, I gave you your parents for a reason." Right?
Yes, my parents are so wonderful. They've helped.
Yeah.
They're still helping support me, and I hate that.
Yeah.
Because, they are. They support me in so many ways, but I still sometimes lean on them financially, and I hate that.
What a blessing. What a blessing, though, right? You know, and I mean, a parent's love. I'll do anything for these kids.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't realize how selfish I was until I got married. I didn't realize how much
how selfish you were acting.
Yeah.
That's what Matt's sermon was yesterday, that you can't say you were selfish, you were acting selfish.
Yeah, 100%. All I thought about was myself, right? I didn't know the depth of how much I could love somebody until I had kids.
Mm-hmm.
These two girls of mine, I mean, I would do anything for them, right? So a parent's love for their child, God's love for us translates the same way, right? And I mean, that act of selflessness was such a perfect model.
Yeah.
Because I would lay my life down.
Me too.
For my kids.
Over and over and over again.
Yeah. And so it was a model of love. It was a model of love.
All right, I'm going to compose myself and we're going to get through this.
It's okay. We take our time. It doesn't matter. This is fantastic. What I call this is a divine appointment. This is when I woke up this morning, I was preparing. I was just trying to mentally get ready. My prayer for this whole thing was that God, you would show up.
Yeah.
I know that we have questions. We've prepared. We've done everything that we can to make sure that this is going to be successful and that we follow along. I know I get long-winded. And,
well, clearly I do too.
No, but that's okay. But that, God, that you would show up and that your will would be done in this and that this episode would happen and be transcribed into exactly what you want it to be so that the people listening to it would
reach them.
That's
so
right.
They can hear it.
That's right. And so whatever transpires, know that he's up there and he's drawing it out and he's like, it's okay. It's okay. It's all part of it. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and dive into segment 4.
Okay.
Since we are very behind schedule.
No worries.
Segment 4 talks about entrepreneurship. So from nursing, you then launched a residential assisted living homes. What inspired that move? Tell us how you jumped all over the place.
Yeah,
again.
Crazy path, right? Unique, fortunate events have happened. And I didn't know entrepreneurship was a word. I didn't.
How?
And
like,
so,
were you not? You said because education wasn't your focus, right?
Yeah.
So you really, truly didn't know that word?
No. So you go up to school. They teach you to get a degree, to go work a 9 to 5, and then, you get your 2 weeks every year that you can take vacation. Well, it is for some. And I'm learning. I'm just not that. I'm not that. Yeah. And so as I start reflecting back, so back then Legos were really cool for us.
They're still very popular.
Okay, good. So we had a school store. I remember being in 4th grade. There was a school store. I had to run it because they asked me to do it. And so there I should have known that. You know what I mean? Like I was on student council, didn't want to be, but they asked, and I thought, oh, it can't be that hard. And even the reflection of your boy, I got bored easy. I have not been.
Sounds like my nephew.
I have not been formally diagnosed with ADHD, but I know that there's times where my attention. Oh, look, there's a squirrel.
That's me, like literally every day.
You know what I mean? So,
and I swear it's gotten worse as an adult.
So what you have to do is everybody's different, but for me, I really have to just stay focused, and I have to really just mentally make sure that I'm there. So entrepreneur. So I didn't know. So anyway, school store, that kind of stuff. Well, there was these pink erasers. They're about 1.5 inches long.
I know exactly
right?
what you're talking about.
And so
the jumbos.
There it is. And so I remember I bought a couple of them, 25 cents. I got home, and at that point, my brother and I, we didn't have a lot of toys, so we had some Legos. I glued the Lego wheels to the bottom and a steering wheel on top.
So awesome.
And that was our car. So we use it with our 2
fidget
fingers.
Toy.
There it is. Back in the 80s, baby. 1985. And so that was before.
Wait, what year were you born?
1980.
Okay, I was born in 86.
Yeah, see, there you go. So, so we're doing that. Well, I remember I was playing in 4th grade, and one of my friends go, "Oh, I want that." I was like, "Well, I'll make you one."
Did you make him pay you?
You better believe it. So those erasers cost 25 cents. I remember charging 50 cents. And I remember...
You should have charged $1.
Well, I didn't know. If I knew the inflation rate would have changed. But I remember that I came home. I went back to the store. I got some cash. And then I remember like 10 erasers. And I was like, man, I don't know if I can find 10 friends and whatever. But like they sold out in like 10 minutes. And I was like... And I got home and I had this money, and I remember my dad looking at me. He's like,
Where did you get
that money? And I was like, well, I just sold erasers. And he just smiled at me, and he didn't say anything.
No.
But I felt like there was this uber proud moment. And I was hilarious. Like, and maybe I've been chasing that my whole life, right? You know, we always want to make our parents happy. But there was something different. I remember we started making colored ice cubes. And we started selling those. I didn't know that I was built for entrepreneurship. I was built not for the 9 to 5. I was built that there's always, I just saw a meme last night where it says entrepreneurship is you can have the best day of your life and then the worst day of your life 30 seconds later. And it just
like the Texas weather.
And it rotates. It just goes up and down, up and down. And so, so that's where I'm at. So what launched the entrepreneurship residential assisted living was in 2018. My mother-in-law was sick. And in fact, in 2018, the fall of 2018, I got accepted to medical school.
Yeah,
I was going to medical.
Thank
you. I was going to medical school. That was the goal since 80. So it took me
How many years?
Yeah, thank you. 9 years. Because I had to go back to remedial math, right? Barely graduated high school because I ran away, right? I knew it all. And then I'm in ministry because God has this plan. And then now I feel like God's like, hey, go to medical school. You got to be like intelligent to go to medical school.
Yeah.
So remedial math, I felt so dumb, but God was humbling all through that stuff. So anyways, get accepted to medical school 2018. Now my mother-in-law is really sick, and they're here in Houston.
Yeah.
And so from Minnesota to Houston, we would
Is that why you came to Houston?
Yeah.
That's why you came? Because your mother-in-law was sick?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. We tried to sell the house to get here so we could just be present. And so she would call Tiff. She fell. And now Tiff's calling the fire department to come and pick her up off the floor. So she would go to an ER. She would get better at a rehab. She'd go home and she'd fall again. So it just as our parents get older, right? Just the kids. That's your joy. That's your privilege is to help your parents.
I've experienced that personally.
So what happened was she died faster than we could sell the house. We were trying to sell the house. All these houses around to sell, but ours isn't. And we're like, why? What's going on? God, help us, right?
Yeah.
Well, we'll progress the story in this podcast, and I'll tell you why, because I didn't know. Because it took about 2 years later.
Okay.
But anyways, we moved down. We get down here, and it's not until the funeral that I hear, because we didn't make it down here until she passed.
I'm sorry.
It sucks, but God uses those pain moments to get you to a position to where he can use you. So anyways, start researching assisted living, and in the 90s, some people started taking residential houses and turning them into assisted living facilities. And so I found this lady that was doing it, and in fact, the daughter was running it because her mom was actually in the hospital dying at the same time that my mother-in-law was.
Yeah.
And so God kind of brought that together. We worked with her for 2 years, and because I feel in this smaller environment, people can age in place a lot better because the caregiving ratios are better. So, but that's where we're at. We bought the company in 2021. We bought 3 houses, and now we've been able to expand to 6 houses. Families are seeing it. Families see the smaller model of care because it's in a home. And so that's kind of how we got into the residential assisted living.
Is that only in Houston?
Yeah, so we're in the southeast side of Houston. Yeah, our homes are. Yeah.
What cities are they in?
Yeah, so we have 2 in Pasadena, 1 in Pearland, 1 in Webster, 1 in Clear Lake. It's called Lightheart Memory Care.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So my grandmother, Betty, who I love dearly, I took her last name after my divorce.
Wow.
Betty Bennett. She is living in an assisted facility right now.
Wow.
And I hate that because I would love for her to be at a home, outside of cause it's actually like a facility, not like a house. It's not a hospital, but it's just not home.
Yeah.
My dad is one of 5 boys. So they've all done a really good job of helping take care of her, and because she's a widow, and she has been for a long time. So they've done a really good job of helping her and taking care of her. And I've just been, I don't know, drawn to being around her as much as I can. And it has not been as much as I've wanted it to be. But I spent some time with her last summer for several days. And that was before she went to this new facility. That was when she was still in an apartment. She was having somebody come there and help her, for a few hours a day. But the family decided that she needed to be in this place long term, like maybe forever. And I hate that because I really would love for her to be somewhere that doesn't feel not like home. So, but I do know that the family is working to make it feel more homey.
Sure.
So I was just curious if y'all are in Dallas because that's where she's located.
Yeah, no, I know people in Dallas though. I can give really good recommendations. So.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to hear your recommendations. My dad and the uncles feel like this is like a good plan where she's at, but I just want something a little different for her. But it's not really up to me.
Yeah, no worries. We can chat about it later.
Let's do that.
Yep.
But Mimi, I know that you're probably going to be listening to this too, and I just love you so much. She saw I was looking for sponsors, and she said she wanted to sponsor, and I said I would feel guilty guilty taking a dime from her, but I told her she could support at the lowest level. So Mimi is supporting as a coffee sponsor, I think.
I love it.
So
I love it. Mimi, you are changing lives.
Mimi, sweet Betty. I actually told the family about this, I guess it's probably been a few years since this first came up, but pivoting again, if you're okay with it.
Of course.
So just to talk about the family a little bit, my grandmother met my grandfather when he was a teacher and she was a high school student.
Awesome.
That was back in the day when things weren't so weird. And they didn't date until she was out of high school. But, they were together for, I think, 20 or 30 years, a long time. So a long time in a short period. They had 5 sons, and then all the sons had lots of children. So she created this beautiful family. But then my grandfather passed away young, at like 50, and I was 3 years old. So I didn't really get to know him very well. But I've learned about him through the stories that people share. Yeah. He was a teacher at Alice High School, and he taught, I think, math and science or chemistry, or, very intelligent, like a very intelligent man who connected with people in a certain way. Wow. And so his impact still lasts today. People will contact my dad or my grandmother or an uncle or a family member and let them know how much, Larry meant to them. Wow. And just how beautiful, like, he was as a person, and how he was this huge man, apparently 6'5", which is how tall my son is.
Okay. Wow.
My son is taller than his dad. Okay. My son's very tall, so we have this huge height difference, which is really fun. I'm like, you listen here.
Yeah, exactly.
Shaking my finger at him.
Don't make me come up there.
I'll stand on a chair to get eye level. But so it's been really beautiful hearing about his life and his story and the cool things that he did, even though it was a short time. And I see a lot of correlation between him and my son. Wow. Because they have very similar stature and brain. And I just know that my grandfather would be very proud of my son.
Wow.
So, but all that to say, a few years ago, I was inspired to create like a foundation for them. I haven't started anything yet, but I wanted to call it the Larry and Betty Foundation or something like that.
Yeah.
And, just to keep his stories alive and maybe raise funds to give to students in Alice or in other areas where students are struggling maybe with a learning difference and they don't think they can go to college, or they are underprivileged and so maybe they're not going to school because they don't have clothes. There's so many things that scholarships could go for to bring hope and encouragement. It's not always about money, but a lot of times it affects how you feel, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is unfortunate. The fortunate side is I would like to bless other families. So I'm putting it out there. The family knows about it, but I've said for like a year I'm going to send an official email, and I haven't. So I don't think I have. I've talked about it multiple times. But so here on the podcast, I'm sharing that. I would love to see that come to fruition while my grandmother's alive. I would love her to be here forever.
Wow.
But she's 87.
Yeah.
And I would love for her to see the impact, again and again and again.
What a legacy.
Yeah, it really is such a beautiful legacy. And that's why I took her last name. It's her maiden name, but it felt right because I didn't want to go back to my maiden name, and I didn't want to keep my married name because it just felt, it wasn't me anymore.
Yeah.
And so I asked her permission, and she said yes, I could take her last name.
I love it.
Okay, so we talked about the assisted living. How do you balance caring for people with the responsibility of running a business?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I have a hard time coming up with that answer.
Okay.
How do you balance care and business? And so I have a strong team around me. My family's very supportive, so my wife is very supportive, which helps.
I love that she's here.
Yeah.
She's kind of hostage until we're done.
Yeah, she's kind of right outside the door with my two girls. It's Labor Day.
That's so sweet.
And so
that they're here.
They're coloring out there, and we vowed to each other that we would do things as a family.
Yeah.
And so, if this business is our entrepreneurship, and this is actually a really good segue, because how do you balance the care? I read a book early in my 20s. It was called Choosing to Cheat by Andy Stanley. And in life, you cheat something.
Yeah.
You're either going to cheat your selfishness, or you're going to cheat your spouse. You're going to cheat discipline, or you're going to cheat an opportunity, right? So you always cheat something. You get to choose what it is. And so I really want to make sure that I cheat my selfishness, that kind of stuff. And so how do you balance it? I think you surround yourself with people that you trust, that can speak into your life, that let you know, like, hey, you know what, Nate, you're kind of missing it here. And that's tough because you have to trust those people. But that's why, church to me is really, really important. I have a pastor, I have a community of believers, small groups, where somebody can speak into my life and be like, hey, knucklehead, you're missing it. So.
And you still go to City Mark, right?
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love City Mark. I'm segueing again, but I was rebaptized there in 2022. I felt drawn to Jesus, and I'd been baptized before, but I was in a new season of life and felt like I just needed a restart, and I wanted to wipe the slate clean, just symbolically, So City Mark has truly been a blessing to me. I remember Pastor Matt, whenever I was in that low season and it was hard for me to get out of the house, I was watching online. Thank God for online streaming.
Wow. Awesome.
And I remember he said, what does God want you to do in this city? And I'm thinking, I don't know. I want to get out of League City. Why do I have to stay here? I want to leave. Sure. I've been trying to leave League City for a long time because, I was supposed to leave, and then I ended up staying.
Sure.
When I got pregnant. So finally I did leave League City. I moved in January to Houston.
There we go.
But I'm coming back, a couple times a month to City Mark. It is my home church.
Wow. Good.
Yeah. How about one more question before we move on to something else?
Yeah.
What advice do you find yourself giving most often to other business owners?
Man, that's a good one. There's a lot because I read, right? But I think the core is, I remember in school, the question that the teachers would always ask is, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I always hated that because I don't know. People ask me, I'm 44, I'll be 45 in October this year.
Wait, did we talk about this? What day in October?
29th.
I'm the 22nd.
Oh yeah, hey, close, October, baby. And so I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. People ask me now, as a 44-year-old, what do you want to be? And I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. But I remember my dad, and this is just etched in my brain, he never asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. He goes, what problems do you want to solve when you grow up?
Wow, that's a bigger question.
Yes, and I think what happened is that has helped shape my mentality Because what do you want to be when you grow up? Now you're locked into this position of like a job description. If you solve, problems do you want to solve? Now you got some room to wiggle. And so anyways, that has helped. So that's what I ask people is figure out what problems you want to solve when you grow up, and that you'll grow into the person that solves those problems. And I think that's why I've been able to pivot. That's why it started in ministry, now nursing, now business owner, entrepreneurship. Because the tragic truth is this: 4 out of 5 people hate, dissatisfied, do not like going to work. That's
really 4 out of 5?
That's 80% of people.
Wow, that's very unfortunate because they're spending all their time there, most of their time.
I mean, do you hear people? What do people say? I mean, go sit in a coffee shop and just listen to people talk. What do they look forward to? The weekend. What day do they not look forward to? Monday. Which is today, and here we are doing this podcast. Yeah.
But this doesn't feel like work for me.
See,
this
great.
is fun.
So that's why I'm available on Labor Day.
Thank you sorry about that, by the way.
No, this is great because
you could have said no.
Exactly. I love what I get to do.
Yeah.
And I love the opportunity and the privilege to be where I'm at this time and position, to be able to help and to serve. And so that's what people need to find. I'm not going to be a part of one of the people that I am creating a life that I love and that I want to live, not that I have to escape from.
Yeah, absolutely. That resonates with me because while I have not always wanted to go to work and, did dread Monday and looked forward to the weekends, I've also really enjoyed the work even through it.
Awesome.
Like, I am so glad that my sister pushed me to marketing, even though she doesn't remember it, to communication. It is where I think I thrive. I enjoy the work that I do. And, they say if you enjoy what you're doing, it'll never feel like work.
That's right.
And it usually doesn't feel like work. Sometimes I'm so invigorated, I could go forever, but I have to stop and take a nap, all that. Okay, segment 5. We have 2 more.
Yeah, let's keep going. I love it.
So now you're an author and also a graduate student in marriage and family therapy. What drew you into this chapter of your life?
Yeah, wow. Well, it's another fortunate event, and it's another story.
Okay.
So in the assisted living industry, there's a lot of people that are trying to replicate what we do because you don't need a degree to do it, right?
Oh.
You just need some grit, some determination, and some, friends that have some deep pockets maybe to do it. So
is that how you got into it?
No, it's a good story. No. Remember the house that wouldn't sell in Minnesota?
Yes.
There was a reason. And, God provided a renter for us a year in advance, and they paid for a year in advance so we could move to Texas.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so the story is just phenomenal. And
I'll be quiet so you can tell it.
But you're good. I was upset. I was angry and I was cranky and I was complaining. Like, God, why wouldn't you help us sell this house so we could be here for the funeral? Like,
Which is
why?
really very sad.
Yes,
And it's hard to understand.
Yeah. But the picture is so much bigger. And you start looking at a jigsaw puzzle. And I love this metaphor picture is if you look at a jigsaw puzzle, there's all those 100 pieces in there, and there's pieces missing. And I don't know where those pieces are. God, though, sees the whole picture, and he knows that at the right time he'll find those pieces to put it together. And so that house didn't sell because it wasn't supposed to at that time. And so once we got ready to buy the company, we had to take out a $1.3 million loan to buy the company.
Wow, the fact that y'all were able to do that.
It's a lot of flipping money. But are you ready? Here we go.
Yes, I'm ready. I'm like,
Here we go.
Am I ready? I don't know.
So the house, the lease ends in the fall of 2021. We get done with doing the SBA loan right in the middle of COVID, by the way. And
COVID was a very monumental.
The worst time to pull out a loan, the worst time to go into healthcare.
The worst time to start high school for my son.
Lord almighty, right? So it's like all of that. The house ends up selling quickly, by the way. And the exact amount of money that we made is what we needed on the down payment of that loan. And so, and I remember when we were signing the paperwork, I just remember that same unction that I felt in Africa to go to the threshold, the same unction I felt like to go to medical school was still there. The same pressure, the same unction, the Holy Spirit just speaking and saying, look, it wasn't your timing. It's the timing now. The house appreciated in those 2 years. The house was able, you know what I mean? And that we didn't have to pull another investor. If you get investors, usually investors have opinions and they have ways that you should be running the business, right? So we were able to honor God and do it the way that God wants it. So all that money was exactly what we needed to buy the company. So that's that.
Yeah,
And
that's
so,
incredible.
okay, so marriage and family therapy, all right? So we're
Oh,
doing.
wait, I do want to ask one
Yes.
thing. Can I?
Absolutely.
Are you going to forget what you're going to say?
No, I can remember. I got my notes. I'm following my notes.
Yeah. I should be doing that too.
It's okay.
How can you discern? How do you discern? You have a feeling that you want to do something.
I love it.
You have what you feel like is a calling. How do you know that that's what you should really do?
Yeah.
And again, it could go back to you could choose 5 options, but
Mhm.
how do you know?
Yeah, what a really good question. I think for me, if I was going to choose comfort or obedience, it's usually what it comes down to.
It's always the harder thing.
100%. Because for me, I'd rather choose comfort. Us humans, we want the path of least resistance. We
Yeah.
don't really want to do the hard things. What we love is we love the outcome. We love the outcome. Why? Because we live in this fast world where you can get on your phone and you can find something like this. AI, now the advent of AI, and now you can, find all this information out. We love quick responding things, microwaves, all these things, air fryers, all this stuff. And so we love quick things. And I think what we're learning, we're teaching ourselves that things should come quickly, but I'm learning the things that don't. It's not the outcome. God's goal is not the outcome. God's goal is the process to that outcome, because who we become in that is what he wants, the character. And so this is where, so I go to a conference in October in Arizona, a assisted living conference, and I'm not speaking. I actually get to go to attend, which I'm so happy for. But I felt like God needed me or wanted me to go, right? This unction. So I go, I buy a plane ticket the night before. Well, I made several huge divine appointments where God was like, because I'm complaining. I left my family, my kids. I don't want to leave my family and my kids. So I'm complaining in the hotel room. And
You're talking to God and you're praying.
Yes. And I'm like, why am I here? Like, I don't want to be here. But
you really didn't want to be there?
No, I didn't.
But you knew that you were supposed to.
100%. And so in some of those conversations, then all of a sudden there was somebody was publishing books, and they said, Nate, I really want to hear your story about assisted living. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So I come back to Texas after that, and we signed a book deal to where I'm going to write a book about assisted living, how to start residential assisted living. So from October till December, I write this manuscript, and I'm at about 280 pages, and it's done. It's done. Then December 20th happens of 2024. And I get a phone call from a banker, and the banker says, your company is almost bankrupt. You have 3 months left. Totally took the wind out of my sails. I was like, how can I write a book on this that I can't even write?
So they were giving you until March this year.
Yeah. And so Tiff and I had to get into the books. We called our accountant, and we're like, why didn't we see this? What's going on?
That's a pretty big,
huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Because you trust those people to take care of those 100%. Things for you.
Yeah. You have a partnership, a team to help that business be successful. But in that moment, God really brought me to a point, is that business your provider, or am I? And in that moment, God brought me to Joseph, the story of Joseph, his brother selling him. He goes into a pit, and then he has to run away from Potiphar's wife, and then he gets thrown into prison in a place that he didn't deserve. And God brings me to this point of just surrendering everything, surrendering it all again.
Every day.
Again. Yeah. I would think that you'd get old enough to where God's like, okay, you're good. Time to go. But I don't think that's ever going to happen till you die and you pass on, you go to glory. So anyways, he takes me through that, and I'm chewing on those verses and that. And then I feel like God said, okay, well, not God, just that unction. I've never heard the audible voice, but I felt like the Holy Spirit was leading me and said, I didn't take you to that assisted living conference to write a book about assisted living.
Think bigger.
Yeah, I want you to write a book about faith.
Oh, wow.
And so this book, it just flowed.
When
and
did you?
Chapters just.
Did you finish the book?
Go ahead, it's done. And so now what we're doing is we're waiting for the formatting. I just looked at the front cover last week, and it's coming through. And so in that moment, I felt like God was like, Nate, you need to start talking more. You need to start sharing the stories that you've been through. I want people to know that you didn't do this by yourself.
Yeah. All the glory goes to him.
That's right. You hear that God's a glory hog. Oh, God.
Well, because
100%.
He does deserve the credit.
100%.
Good or bad, right?
Yeah,
Is
100%.
Is that accurate? Like when something bad happens, but he didn't allow it, but he allowed it to happen.
I think he gets blamed for a lot of stuff because
Yeah.
humans, we try to figure things out. Like, why does bad things happen?
I still have,
You know?
I still struggle with
You know?
that.
And what I'm learning is in those moments, God allows us to go through bad things because he wants you to know he's not going to leave you. We live in a sinful and fallen world. That is where we're at. So people that don't understand that, they don't know that this is sinking. We are on a sinking ship. So Jesus is that life preserver that helps us get off this ship.
Yeah.
And you make your decision when you die, and we can go into this faith discussion, but that my faith shapes my decisions. And so
Right.
with all of that, the marriage and family therapy, going into that role now, the business was like, we don't know what we need to do. God was like, I need you to write this book about faith. And so I did. Then I started some Facebook groups about faith.
I remember you invited me to this.
Yes, because I felt like God was like, you need to start sharing the stories of what I've done in your life because you're not, right? And so that's okay. And so I need to be obedient. So I started doing that stuff. Well, what you guys need to know too is a year ago, Tiffany does, my wife, she does the backside of the back office of our billing and payroll for the company. And she does a fantastic job. I love it. And I love working with her, right? But she told me about a year ago, we were just going through for a walk, and she was like, hey, I just want you to know I'm only doing this because I love you. I don't want to do this. Like, I want to go back to nursing. I love doing 9 to 5, right?
Yeah.
So that's always been in the back of my mind. And so we revisited that conversation about December 23rd, 24th,
Of this past year?
Yeah, right after kind of this banker kind of shook us awake, like, hey, what's going on? Is this really something you want to do? Because it starts shaking the foundation, because I have blinders on. This is what I'm going to do. And she was like, Nate, I love marriage and therapy. Well, she didn't say therapy. She goes, I love marriages. I love when we used to do the premarital stuff. I love when we used to counsel marriage and families. I love that stuff. I would love to do retreats, marriage retreats. And I was like, and she started getting all excited. I was like, wow, maybe this is a new season.
Yeah.
And so she started researching, and she found Abilene Christian University.
Hey, I went to many church camps there.
And so she was like, let's put a fleece before the Lord and see if you get accepted. Girl, that door flung open so fast.
So that's where you're getting your graduate right now is through ACU?
Yes.
Is it all online?
Yes. And so
maybe I can go back to A&M, but I don't need to add one more thing to
100%. You know the workload, but those doors flew open. So currently now I'm doing graduate studies to become a marriage and family therapist. Why?
And that's a wonderful school.
Yeah, fantastic. And I'm excited about the curriculum and learning the theories. But it's just, again, what problems are we trying to solve? And so we're kind of going into these natural bends of things that God has allowed us to go through. So,
how do you see therapy and ministry overlapping?
Yeah, so I think
I know I'm throwing that out there.
That's good. I think they all have the same pattern. What I have found from nursing to ministry to marriage and family therapy, it centers on families. Families are this context of group of people where they're all imperfect, yet there's always so many dynamics that move in it. And so I know what I have seen is families create generations.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we can destroy the family, we can destroy the generations. And so you can look at generational trauma from abuse to neglect to all that stuff, how it creates just divides and separates families. Or you can look at love and connection and empathy, where it now creates its strong family, right? So like anybody that's listening to me, I'm going to tell you, if you're in a family that is considered dysfunctional or you think it's dysfunctional, it can stop with you. You can stop it. You can
break the curse.
Absolutely break the cycle.
Yes.
It does not need to keep cycling. Break it. How? Step away from it. Pause. Reflect. If you need to get therapy, get it. It's not
Read
bad.
your Bible.
I would go towards the Bible.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And pray. If you haven't tried it, just pray. Just say whatever comes to your mind. It doesn't need to be polished. I promise you. There's many of mornings where I pray and I'm like, God, help me understand because I don't understand.
This morning I woke up a couple times and I was still very tired. But I knew I had this podcast and I didn't want to be late. I was only a couple minutes late. So the first time I woke up, I was annoyed because I needed to get rest. But, was up for a little bit, maybe an hour, then went back to sleep.
Yeah.
And then I woke up like 3 hours later. I probably got 6 or 7 hours of sleep still.
Yeah.
But I woke up twice, which I didn't love. And so the second time I woke up, and was up for good, I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to go back to sleep. And I didn't, because I knew I had to be awake,
Yeah.
So I am bad about picking up my phone and scrolling my phone in the morning first
Sure.
thing. But I have found that even when I do that and I don't go to the Bible, God's still going to find me on my phone.
Come on. Come on.
So, and then I was like, okay, let me pick up the book I have not picked up in a little while, because the Bible sits right next to my bed.
Wow.
But a lot of times I've been intimidated by reading the Bible, just because it's old
Yeah.
and there's words or things that happen that I don't understand.
Yeah.
But that's why I like this Bible that I just brought here,
I
because
love it.
it's very straightforward. So anyways, I picked it up and I felt so encouraged this morning. So that was a change,
I love it.
I do want to talk about, just as you look ahead, what kind of impact do you hope to have on families through the work you're doing? We might have hit on this, and if we have, we
That's
can.
good. No. I really feel strongly like if you can strengthen the family, you can strengthen the future generations. And so I think that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah. So my next segment is actually faith in the unscripted path, which is pretty funny, since I've been going off script all morning.
That's great.
Faith has been a thread through every step of your journey. Can you share a time when stepping out in faith changed everything for you? Again, you might have already shared something, but do you have another story?
Yeah, absolutely I do. But what I can do is I can just reflect back. If you look back at Africa, if you look back at Haiti, if you look back at that house selling for the RAL business, God's timing was never late.
Yeah. Even if we are.
That's right.
Or we feel like we are, because
Yeah.
time's a construct, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And time is a resource that you never get back.
Yeah.
Time is, you can always make more money. You really can. Time is not.
That's good news, because I'm starting from the bottom.
It's okay.
After my divorce, I'm truly starting over. Like,
The only way is up.
for someone listening who feels like they don't fit the mold, what encouragement would you give? Again, if you want to skip this one, we
No,
can.
this is a really good one. No, you guys need to hear this, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not broken. You're not broken.
A little bit.
You're different on purpose.
Yeah.
And so if there's brokenness, that's when God starts putting the pieces back together. And again, I'll reiterate, sometimes those pieces, he doesn't put them all back the way that we think they should.
Mm-hmm.
He puts back the ones that he needs to grow, and he'll fill in the gaps.
That's beautiful. Okay, well, I'll just leave that there. How do you know when it's time to stop playing it safe and step out in faith?
Ooh. Man, I don't. I would circle back to the hope. For me, it's comfort versus obedience. In my life, I've found that I get to a point where I'm kind of comfortable. I'm like, okay, whew, it's not.
I can rest now.
Yeah, it's not.
I don't have to freak out.
Yeah, it's not as stressful anymore. And then it's like, nope.
We can never really truly rest.
I don't think so. Not until we die, maybe. I look at, if we're going to be like Jesus, Jesus had an opportunity the last night that was recorded in the Bible. He could have done so much. And it even states in the Bible that he could have called legions of angels to come and help him. The last night, and this one gets me, and this one really gets my heart. And the last night that he could have done anything.
Because God would have allowed him to opt out.
I don't know that answer. That's one that we need to write down and we need to ask when
It's
we get up
being
there.
recorded right now.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And so,
Lord, do you hear?
come on. Oh, he hears. He
I don't know if
knows.
I want the answer.
Yeah,
Just
that's
kidding.
probably more like it. So Jesus, what does he do on the last night is he girds himself with a towel and he washes the feet of the people. Even a person that's going to betray him.
Judas.
How often?
I've been betrayed deeply too.
How often would somebody like that? And so my goal is I want to be like Jesus.
Yeah.
I told my wife when I die, I really, on my tombstone, I want to hear, well done, thou good and faithful servant.
Yeah.
And because I miss it a lot. I'm not perfect at all. And so, yeah, so that's how do you know when you're stepping out in faith? I would say take that step.
Yeah.
If it's comfort versus obedience, take a faith step.
Okay.
Because it's a light unto your path, take a step.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what to do, find somebody that you trust, share the idea with them. And if you have peace, then step out in faith. Even though it's not clear and it's not all drawn out.
Yeah. So you're saying if you feel peace about it, what if you don't feel peace about it?
I wouldn't do it. I'd pause.
Okay. All right.
That's
good. That's great. That's
because
great.
I know that in moments where Tiff and I have dealt with very serious, difficult issues in our marriage or personal life or other people, we have paused. We've been still. And we just kind of, and then, then I don't operate outside of peace. And I feel like God gives peace. And so
Truly, the only peace
that passes understanding. There's a lot of times I don't understand.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at just the journey of this podcast and a little bit of what we've gone through, I don't understand.
Since an hour and 38 minutes ago.
I don't understand a lot.
I'm very sorry that it's going so long.
Don't worry. Do not apologize.
But I do feel bad. Okay. It has been a great conversation.
It's fantastic.
I just hate that it's not the 30 minutes that
there's peace. There's peace that passes all understanding. And you're going to get tons of fodder. You get to cut and paste and move and shift some of this stuff. Yeah. So I'm okay with it.
Okay. So we're almost to our last segment, but last question for segment 6 is, since we both attend City Mark, I've told you about my own story a little bit. There's so much more to tell, but we're going to save it for another day.
Yeah.
And I told you about being rebaptized and how it really was a defining moment in my faith. And I'm still learning from that experience. Since you're also a part of the same church, how has being a part of City Mark, of the community there, shaped your current season, where you are now?
Yeah, so City Mark for me has been like a spiritual anchor. It's helped me kind of weather the storms of life because you're around a community of believers, like-minded people. And being around like-minded people is really, really, really important. And so I'll tell people in the marketplace or in the entrepreneurial field or, there's certain habits or things that they're doing. I was like, well, who are you hanging out with? You are who you hang out with. So if you don't like who you are, change who you're hanging out with. Yeah. And so the same is true in the spiritual or faith-filled journey is you are who you hang out with. So I would encourage you, find a community of believers that are striving for the same thing. So City Mark for me has been instrumental in even raising my girls. I need my girls to know that faith is important, and I need them to see their dad raising his hands and serving in a local church. That to me is really important because they're going to go look for some kind of boy. They're not ready yet. They're
Please
only 10
guard
and 7.
them forever.
In Jesus' name. And
in Jesus' name. In Jesus' name. Let's put a blessing on them right now.
100%. And so I want them to see that their daddy loves the Lord because I want them to find some husband that will see that and value that. We tell them all the time, the husband that you marry, and we're praying for him right now. So if you're listening, we don't know, but you're going to have to get through God first.
And maybe me too.
There you go.
Now I'm feeling a little bit invested.
Come on, exactly. Is they better love God more than they love you.
Yes.
Because if they love God.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
And I want to ask more questions, but I'm not because this could go on forever. So let's shift to our very last segment, the Fortunate Event segment, which of course we've hit on throughout this whole podcast. But again, just to reiterate, if you've been in and out of the podcast, listening, tuning out, the podcast is built on the idea of fortunate events and the challenges and detours that end up shaping us in unexpected ways. If you haven't already shared, what has been your most defining fortunate event? Do you have one?
I think so, and it would be at the one at the beginning when I ran away from home and snuck into the house. That changed the whole trajectory of my life.
Yeah,
I would not be alive.
Wow, you really think you wouldn't be alive?
Yeah, no.
Well, explain a little bit more.
Yeah, no. The things that I was doing and giving myself permission to do.
You're being destructive.
You better believe it, because I knew it, and I was invincible.
You felt that way?
Oh yeah.
I don't think I've ever felt that way. I've always had fear.
No, it just, and physiologically our amygdala gets bigger. That's our fear center. And so,
so yours was small and mine was large.
It must have been abnormally small. I thought that. But I'm grateful for that divine appointment.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And my question is, how did that moment change you, not just the path you were on, but in who you are but in who you are? Do we want to answer that one?
Yeah, no, I think it broke the reliance on myself and it created reliance on God. That I was not the one that was in charge of my life. God, ultimately, He created me for such a time as this to affect the people that He wants. Why wasn't I born in the Middle Ages? I love swords and knights and horses.
That's my son.
He's
really
like I love it.
Renaissance man.
Yeah, I love that. So, but no, He chose the 1980s, the early 2000s for this time. And so I need to be faithful to what God has created me to do.
Okay, a couple more questions and then we're going to end. If someone listening is standing on the edge of a big decision, what would you want to tell them right now?
Yeah. Miracles don't wait for perfect plans.
Okay.
Sometimes,
He'll do it not with or without you, but
sometimes it takes a step of faith.
yeah.
God has a plan. He really does. And I believe he has a plan for every individual. And it's our privilege to be a part of that plan and to make those decisions. He is not going to take your free will away from you.
Yeah.
And he's not like a God up there, vengeful God to where he's trying to manipulate you to do his will.
Yeah.
No, he wants you to choose, right? Just like my kids, if they run in and they give me a huge hug and they're like, Daddy, I love you, it's so much better than if I say, hey, here's $5. Can you give me a hug and tell me you love me? Right? Free will is this choice, this human emotion that is just phenomenal. And so that's how God is. I think he waits for us to step out in faith.
Yeah.
And so I would say if you're on the fence, step out. Step out.
I love that. Step out. You heard him. Okay, I fibbed. I have one more question before the
you're
last. So, do you think God still has hope that he can bring Satan back to his side?
Oh, like save him? Ooh, holy buckets. What a question. I don't know. No. I would say no.
Okay.
Because the antithesis is good is evil, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't understand all the dynamics of what that is, but what I do understand is Lucifer, he was the angel of music, right? He made
Oh my gosh.
He made a decision. And I mean, honestly, that's why I believe music is so powerful.
I'm very drawn to music.
And that's okay. I love music. Music can change my mood in an instant.
Me too.
And so I think that's how we're created. There's parts of us that music can help shape. Music can help. In dementia studies, music can help
Bring you back.
100%. So whatever that decision was, ultimately the devil's being used for God's plan is how I see it.
Yeah.
Right? So that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll leave it there.
Yeah.
So to wrap all this up, where can listeners connect with you and follow along with your journey since you have so many stories to share? I would love to tell more of them, so I think maybe we'll do that at some point. But where can they connect with you?
Yeah, thank you. So it's Facebook right now. And so because my target audience is usually on Facebook. And so there's several groups that I'm a part of that I'll help lead or something. But yeah, Facebook, if you just look Nate Manthey on Facebook, and that's where you can find me. Or if you come and visit City Mark Church.
Such a wonderful church.
I love it. You can come and say hi. I'd love to meet you.
Perfect. Well, this is where we wrap up. So thank you so much, Nate, for going on this journey with me while I'm crying and, just a big mess. It's who I am. Thank you for sharing your stories with us today. Your journey, your personal journey, is such a reminder that life doesn't always follow a neat script, just like this podcast. Yeah. And sometimes the very places we feel out of place are the exact places that God uses to shape us.
Yes.
I also want to, again, thank our sponsors. Our headline sponsor, Infante Marketing Solutions. That's where Carrie and I work together to help clients share their stories through strategy, social media, events, websites, and more. And again, my mom, I love her so much. We've gotten really close just because she's always been there for me, and she doesn't judge me, at least not all the time. And she's just a huge supporter. So thank you, Mom, for standing behind the podcast and encouraging me in such a big way. And then again, I'm going to just a reminder that this is my capstone project to graduate. Sponsorship is part of the experiment, and I'm grateful for those who have already partnered with me. There are still sponsorships available, and we will be closing those out in September this month. So if you would like to sponsor or know someone who might, I would love to connect. We have sponsorships for as low as $10. So if you're looking to support the podcast and want to buy me a coffee, let me know and I'll send you my Cash App info. If you would like to connect with Nate, again, he told you where to find him. I'll put those in the notes when I make this public. As always, thank you for listening to the Fortunate Events podcast. If this conversation encouraged you, please share it with a friend who might need it too. Until then, I'll see you next time. Bye.